All right.
All right. So there's this issue sometimes, I think, when we think about where to draft people. Um, and I think that sometimes there is some trickery in thought that happens when you connect really good players to quarterbacks sometimes, and you think that their production is somehow on par or helps with the quarterback's production. So how can some QBs be below average and have a wide receiver that's elite? It seems counterintuitive. For instance, like I see a lot of guys really high on Eli, but that guy, his numbers don't support where he gets drafted sometimes, but people associate him with OBJ.
Yeah, and so like if you look at Eli Manning's numbers, so he finishes the number 21 QB, but he had, Odell Beckham, one of the best receivers, um, period. And so if you look at the passer rating for these guys, so Eli had over 120 passer rating when thrown to OBJ and under 80 when thrown to anyone else.
Hmm.
And so that's a thing. Plus, you throw in the fact that Eli throws so many interceptions. He's thrown 14 interceptions at least in the last 8 years. That's bonkers, man. Like he's not going to be a top level fantasy asset. And so those low touchdown numbers for him, for how many throws he makes, it doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
So if you just want to put that in comparison, Brady threw 166 fewer passes than Eli, but had two more touchdowns. And so that's the thing. You've got to focus on your number one target. And even again, Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton and Antonio Brown, it doesn't fit. You have to have more than one, and sometimes two or three. And so now one thing that I do love to do strategy wise is I want to pair those lower QBs with the stud receiver. So if I'm getting an Odell Beckham in the first round, then I would love to have Eli Manning as my second quarterback if I wait on quarterback. If I get
Right.
a stud QB, I don't want two quarterbacks. If I get Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, I'm not getting two QBs. I don't need that.
Right.
But if I'm waiting, I want two lower tier QBs. I'm going to try to pair one of those with my number one wide receiver.
So let's get into you though. So where are you taking a QB this year? Where do you feel comfortable?
That's a great question because I'm in a MFL 10 best ball league right now, and I am coming up with a third pick, number 11, the 11th pick in the third round, and Aaron Rodgers is sitting there. He's still there. Um, and so I think I'm going to wait. I would say the earliest that I would take a QB, even if my number one quarterback was there, is the top of the fourth round. Um, then I'm okay with it. But in all likelihood, in a redraft and dynasty league, I'm waiting until the ninth or 10th round, and I'm just going to see who's available.
What about a 12-man standard league?
12-man standard, yeah, ninth, 10th, 11th round.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm
What
waiting.
do you suspect you'll find in the ninth through 11th in a standard 12?
Yeah, man. So if I'm looking there, I'm telling you exactly who I've gotten. So I've gotten this person three times already, and that is I'm getting Matt Stafford and Andy Dalton. Those are
Wow.
the guys I'm getting. And I'll say thank you every single day.
Yeah.
Now, am I winning championships with those guys because of those guys? No, I'm not. But what I am doing is I have more running back depth than anybody in my league every single time because when they
Yeah.
spend that fourth round pick on whichever quarterback you want, Andrew Luck, Matt Ryan, whatever, I'm grabbing Tevin Coleman, um, Eddie Lacy, Dalvin Cook, Mike Gillisley. And so it's just kind of you got to trade it out. It's just what works.
I agree. I think that even though I do have a high value on QBs, I know that seems backwards, but I still have that value on them. But I think that there isn't a really large gap too between end of the year totals with a lot of these guys. So I still find that value there in the later rounds. So I agree on waiting as well. We're going to get into one of our favorite bits, and that is talking about division. So our division in episode 3 is the AFC North. I'm going to start with you. Okay,
Ooh.
this time. Give me your rankings of this division?
Okay, so AFC North, it's a pretty tough division, and it's a very clear last round place. So I'll start there. The Browns will be in last place. I've got them in the 4 to 8 wins range. Now they have a lot of talent. I would be okay saying they have more talent than the Bengals and the Ravens, but they have no playmakers. Quarterback is a giant question mark, and it's hard to learn how to win in the NFL. When you've lost for so long, you expect that. And
Yeah.
so it's very difficult to make that transition. So I got Browns getting last place. How about you? Who do you got last place?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because they have this roster that I'm an NFL Madden guy myself, big time, and that's not a team at all I would shy away from in Madden. They have kind of like those athletic guys who you love to play with. So, but in the NFL, no, last place.
Yeah, I'm with you. Third place, I got the Ravens. Just barely ahead of the Browns, 4 to 9 win range. They've got a poor O line outside of Yonda, uh, terrible receivers. Even though they picked up Macklin, who I like a lot as far as fantasy goes, but they've thrown the ball more than any NFL team in the last 2 years in a row, and that's just not how you win games in the NFL.
Yep.
You got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to play defense, and their defense is not very good. They have zero linebackers that have committed and covered up murder, and that was their thing, and they don't have that anymore.
So I'm gonna guess that next up for you is the Bengals.
That is correct. The
Yeah.
Bengals, 6 to 9 wins. Um, man, they are building so backwards from the outside in, which I disagree with. If you look at their picks, right? John Ross, they got Joe Mixon. They're just building outside away from the ball, inside, and I think you should go the opposite way. But I think they have one of the worst O lines. Them in Seattle, probably the two worst offensive lines in all of football. And I just don't think you can go far with that. I
Do you
really
think
don't.
that Mixon can make something out of that O line though? You think he can do it?
I do. That dude's talented, man. Again, he's a Ray Lewis Award character winner, and so I think he can do a lot. I can't stand the guy, and I think he's a terrible human being, but the dude has talent, and if you just watch his film, the dude shines.
What
Um,
is the Ray Lewis Character Award? That's a thing.
oh, so yeah, Ray Lewis helped kill a person,
Okay.
and cover up the murder. And so I give that award. It's a specific award that I give to people that are terrible human beings. So Joe Mixon, hey man, he is a Ray Lewis award winner. So I just say
Gotcha.
congrats to you, man.
You know what? You caught me off for a second because sometimes you know things that I don't, and I thought that was a real award. I was like,
Like that's a real college award that they give to like
he's
good
really
players.
nice on TV, but I'd be scared near him.
No, these are just terrible humans that unfortunately are athletic, and we allow them in our society to still be heroes, which grosses me out. But you got to play with what you got. So I have no problem having Joe Mixon on my fantasy team. The Bengals have always taken in these kinds of players: Pac-Man Jones, Perfect. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's just kind of who they are, and
So
the dude is talented.
So can are they going to keep those three running backs? I mean, could you see them trading one of these guys before
No, they're keeping them
camp?
because they're so cheap. So Jeremy Hill's still playing out his rookie contract, and it's super, super cheap. And he'll still get goal line work, no problem. Gio Bernard, they just signed to a contract extension. He probably won't be ready. He's probably going to be on the pup. So he might not be out till week 6. So you got to keep Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill will not get a deal. He'll be with another team next year. This is his last year on his contract. So this year they'll keep all three as insurance. But Jeremy Hill will be gone next year, no doubt about it. And so if you're in a dynasty league and you have Jeremy Hill, just hold on to him because if he goes to a winning team like the Patriots, or let's say he goes to Philadelphia if Garrett Blunt isn't there a year from now, the kid could land in a positive position. And keep in mind, he scored more touchdowns since he's been in the league than any other player in the NFL. So, um, I'm sorry, any other running back. So keep that guy. They'll keep all three this year.
So obviously, by deduction. We have the Steelers at number one, but I'll say I could kind of see the Bengals under some right circumstances sneaking into that number one spot, just because out of all the number one people in the division, barring the AFC South, it's a really not a weak number one because the Steelers aren't weak, but they're just not dominant in their division. Like you don't know, and so
Right. No,
I
I feel you. And if the Bengals had a decent O line, man, I'd be with you. I'd be right there with you. But gosh, they lost Whitworth, and he was the cornerstone of that O line, and they didn't replace him.
yeah.
They're just expecting backups to step in, and I don't know, man. I don't see it. I'm not a big Marvin Lewis coach either, and so I think the talent is there, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I also am not a believer in the Steelers defense. I think that that's a
Right.
it's a phrase Steelers defense that has so much marketing behind it or history behind it that you just get this feeling like yeah, it's tough, but it's not. I mean, the Eagles decimated them week three. And they're fast. Shazier, he's as fast as a running back. Well, congrats. What are you guys stopping? And I just am not a big believer in their defense. So that's the one reason. Again, I'm not necessarily sure they're the number one clear.
Right.
So yeah,
Oh, well said, man. And I'll say this, man. I love going through these teams. It kind of lets you know where you stand on everybody and kind of how you see different teams. It's fun, man. I enjoy it.
well, this has been podcast number tres. And next week we're going to do tight ends, which again, that's a fun kind of conversation. You see some people who are not afraid to take Rob Gronkowski, or even back in the day when we had the whole Jimmy Graham, Gronkowski kind of thing going on. We'll kind of update all that, kind of talk philosophy, and we will see you on Laters on the Min, Jay.
That's right. Take care. Peace.